The worst-case scenario of famine is unfolding in Gaza. That's a warning from the IPC, a global hunger monitor. They say failure to act now could result in widespread death. Gaza health authorities say 154 people, including 89 children, have died from hunger-related causes, most of them in the last few weeks. But to understand today, let's go back to March of this year. Israel blocked the entry of all humanitarian aid into Gaza after a shaky ceasefire expired and an extension was being negotiated. That was a move intended to pressure Hamas into releasing more hostages. By the end of March, there were warnings from the World Food Programme that hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were at risk of severe hunger and malnutrition. But the blockade continued until May. That same month, Israel announced a new controversial aid distribution organization backed by the US and Israel, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. The GHF replaced the UN-led system for distributing aid in Gaza. Israel said the new system would keep Hamas fighters from diverting aid, an often repeated, unproven claim. The 4 GHF aid distribution sites, down from the previous system's 400, are located in Israeli militarized zones, and security is provided by private US contractors. However, the GHF has been widely criticized for failing to effectively deliver aid to Palestinians. Many aid groups, including the UN, refuse to cooperate with the GHF because they say it contradicts humanitarian principles. The UN Human Rights Office says more than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces while trying to get food, mostly near sites run by the GHF. This is refuted by Israel. Last week, more than 100 humanitarian organizations pressed for governments to take action. They urged them to demand a ceasefire, saying mass starvation is spreading across Gaza. The UN and other aid providers have said they are continuing to try to distribute aid in Gaza, but they said they are reliant on Israeli authorities to allow them to deliver more aid. On Sunday, Israel began what they say will be a daily pause in fighting to allow a minimal amount of aid into Gaza. But aid workers say it's not enough.
We are not yet getting the volumes of food and other relief supplies that we need inside Gaza.
So what does Israel say about the scenes of starvation?
There is no policy of starvation in Gaza, and there is no starvation in Gaza.
An Israeli army spokesperson told NPR most of the images of starvation in Gaza are fake and distributed by Hamas. Meanwhile, Donald Trump said,
"That's real starvation stuff. I see it. And you can't fake that."
He also mentioned the US will work with Israel to run new food distribution centers in Gaza, but provided few details. The UK government has now announced that it will recognize a Palestinian state in September unless Israel takes
substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza.
A move Israel says would amount to a reward for Hamas militants. Meanwhile, aid groups continue to warn that if more food doesn't flood Gaza in the next few days, more deaths from starvation are imminent.
Danny Glenwright is here from Save the Children, which advocates for kids and delivers aid. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Danny, so you have people on the ground in Gaza. What are they telling you about the current situation?
Well, I think, as was said, it's now the worst case scenario that we've been predicting for 21 months. We are seeing children dying of starvation before our eyes. We are seeing famine spiraling across the Gaza Strip. Our clinics are packed. We have 200 to 300 people reporting to our clinics every day now, and every single child that's showing up is malnourished. We've seen a 10-fold increase in malnourishment. And we're seeing their parents, their skin and bones. We're seeing mothers who are breastfeeding showing up and saying, "I can't produce milk, please give me formula." And in some cases, these mothers are saying, "Can I take formula with me? Because if I die, I want somebody to still be able to feed my baby." And children are increasingly saying to our staff, "All I wish for is to die, because at least in heaven there will be food and water." And a colleague the other day said, "I've never seen this before in all my years working in this sector. But our local staff, most of our staff in Gaza are local, they're treating their children in our clinics now because they can't access food." And that's how bad it is.
I'm sure you know that all eyes internationally are on Gaza. What would you like to see from the international community?
What we're seeing is a moral, legal, and political profound failure right now. We're seeing a complicity in the atrocities that I've described. And I've called on our government, I've called on Prime Minister Carney and on Foreign Minister and on Canada needs to do more, or else we will be aligned to these atrocities. And history will remember what we did in this moment and what we failed to do in this moment. Canada needs to push for a definitive ceasefire. We need to pull those diplomatic and the economic levers, which we have pulled much faster in other international crises. We have obligations internationally to uphold international law, to prevent atrocities, and to prevent civilian deaths. And so far, we've done a lot of hand-wringing, a lot of finger-wagging as this outrage and this iniquity continues across Gaza. And I'm worried that it's almost too late now. We are at a tipping point.
Danny Glenwright from Save the Children, thank you.
Thank you.